because it truly did start with me, like just sitting on a bench on a disc golf course with like a hole saw.
Tools I used to change my life came from mom and pops. They raised me right. I used to see yellow and run through the light. Now I got patience. It's gonna be alright. I'm getting to the goal. This cheddar straight off the block. I know a couple soldiers, never been to Iraq. I don't trust these barely voted Barack. Pocket full of birds. I'll pull them out and they.
Okay, guys, we are here in the clubhouse. This is our first podcast. We're gonna give it a go. We're lucky enough to have one of our buddies been here a couple different times. You probably know him if you follow us on any other socials. Hunter with Tossing Plastic.
What's going on, guys?
Let him introduce himself real quick.
Yeah, so my name is Hunter Smith. I have a YouTube channel called Tossing Plastic Disc Golf. I do course reviews, vlogs, really anything that piques my interest. Some of it gets a little outlandish, but I travel around probably 3/4 of the year in my van and go around and find great disc golf destinations like this one right here.
Sweet, man. Well, thank you for joining us, dude. Appreciate you doing this here. We kind of just did it on a whim and wanted to get it going, and so here we are. We're gonna call it the Clubhouse Chronicles. I think it's going to be cool to have different people that are coming through here. We get pro disc golfers, YouTubers, Instagrammers. We get a lot of different interesting characters that roll through, especially through the campground. And so we'll be here asking some questions, getting to know them a little bit, and just creating some connections within the community that we're trying to hang out in. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and start chatting Hunter up. So you obviously introduced your YouTube channel, all the places you've been, but we are here in Georgia. We're at Lula. We definitely love the stuff in the videos you made about Lula, but I know you came down here and you've done a couple other recent courses and videos. What would you say, in your opinion, is your most favorite course? You just leave Lula out, so it's not even a thing. But go ahead and
I'll make sure to leave out number 5 then.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Sweet. Yeah. So go ahead and give us a rundown on your last insight.
Are we talking just Georgia?
Yeah, just go with Georgia. I mean, maybe we can tap on one in your home state in a minute. You have a couple.
Well, right before I came here, I did round off the top 5 courses in Georgia, and I've sprinkled in a few other ones. You know, it's tough. I think it depends. For me personally, experience is my biggest factor. So I visited a small course in Griffin, Georgia called Dundee Lake,
just south of Atlanta.
And that course just completely took me by surprise, which doesn't happen very often. That course, the scenery was unbelievable. They had you throw over a ravine with water, and they had these stepping stones, and the best part is all over Udisca says cart friendly, and I don't know if that was a joke, but like I had my cart and it sure felt like a joke. But those first 4 holes were definitely probably my favorite I've ever started a course, and it was the only course that I heavily regretted not filming the alts. But as far as just kind of the staple juggernaut courses of Georgia, I think I would have to go. I really enjoyed Parker's Pasture.
Nice. Yeah, same.
I know Hobbs Farm is 28th, and I know, Hobbs Farm is perfection of disc golf, raw disc golf course design.
For sure.
But it just, I don't know, it didn't make that extra step for me. So I would probably go Parker's Pasture, Little Mulberry, Dundee, and then I'd probably throw Hobbs Farm in there. That round out my top 5 personally.
Nice, man.
I'm excited to check out Etowah though, or Etowah.
He's heading
I'm
over
undecided on the pronunciation.
I think he should go with Etowah because that's the way he reads it when he sees it. But from being from Georgia, I believe people say Etowah. You guys can tell us which is the correct pronunciation for however that word is pronounced over there.
Then I'll make sure to say the opposite. So.
Just to be contrary.
Yes.
Word. Yeah. So that's actually funny you mentioned being contrary. You guys may not know Hunter has a great sense of humor, but it is dry and it is specific to him for sure. Give us one of your funniest stories. I know that we made a little piece of content last night for the Instagram about a guy throwing off the short pads while we were throwing mermaids. But outside of that, if you can think of one, give us another funny story you've run into here in your past months of traveling.
I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go with a man named Jimmy. Jimmy is another local guy who rolls through here.
We love Jimmy.
He's a legend. He's like stone cold. He's motivated. He loves disc golf, and he will pace. Like, he gets antsy. And when you get the rare times you get Jimmy rolling, because he is the opposite of my humor.
Yes.
And I'll feed off of that. But yeah, the little short we made, I've watched it 100 times. Something about just throwing at a water hole with zero care if the disc go in the water and just laughing. And then there's this guy casually come up, like hardcore focused, and just dunks his disc in the water right in front of you. I would say that was one of my favorite moments. Just moments where you can really just feed off of each other. And
maybe we'll tag that up on the screen so you guys can check that out.
But yeah, that video truly, and it is unfortunate that you can't see like their group teeing off. But I like, and I just didn't even skip a beat. I just like kept throwing, and it's clearly not my disc, just tanking in the water in front of me, and I couldn't really control myself there. But with my preferred kind of subtle humor, there's, I don't know, there are moments that wouldn't be great for stories, but those two were fantastic, and Jimmy's a legend.
Yeah, Jimmy. For those of you who don't know, he's our local helicopter pilot. He's getting his airplane pilot's license, so hopefully we'll get a ride over. We'll definitely put that on somewhere if we get a chance to ride over the clubhouse and get a bird's eye view, which would actually be one of my bucket list things to do. I haven't ridden in a prop plane ever, so that would be something that I would really enjoy to do. Cool. So we've covered some stuff in Georgia. I know you have a very crafty brain. You've used your hands a lot. You like to come up with things, and especially this year, if people don't know, he started inventing and playing around with new disc, and started off as having fun and creating content and seeing how it goes. But now it's developed into a little bit of something, and let's see if Hunter wants to share a little bit of how it started, and then kind of how you got to where you're at now and where you're at now.
Yeah, so basically, I love Michigan, and I want to be home a bit more, and I was doing 2 course reviews a week, and I felt like it kind of limited my creativity, and so that's when the madness started. And I've done blogs, all kinds of oddball stuff, but for some reason I just wanted to experiment with discs, and I have a construction background, and so I started a mad scientist playlist, and I wish I had like the first prototypes, because it truly did start with me like just sitting on a bench on a disc golf course with like a hole saw, snips, rivets, and I just went down this road. And a lot of them were goofy, they were just meant to be funny, and then one just clicked, and it was essentially what you see now. And it was my attempt at basically the world's first flight changing disc.
These are awesome.
And my idea of it was that when you open this, it takes away the glide, and you would have a better product for, throwing with the same arm speed, but being able to change the distances instead of trying to adjust your arm speed for a 1 disc round, if that makes sense. Just more consistent releases. And it just kind of, like I said, it clicked. I looked down and I was like, man, this could actually be something. And I learned a lot in the process. I think this is version 8 of just the 3D printed. The one Corbin has, because there are 2 flight plates in these discs. And so when I did the 3D printing version, I didn't like how thin the grip felt in your hand. So I just simply figured, well, we'll make the rim thicker. Well, when you do that, you essentially make a tilt, and you make the disc unthrowable. So there's a lot of fun kind of creative aspects to go along with it. And it is cool seeing the progression. And I want to give a shout out to Rat's Nest, my local course, because a lot of the community around there, it was always on hole 4 is where I'd film because like nobody plays that course. And so I knew I'd have some peace. And one day I showed up to film one of these videos and they put a sign up. And so now it's officially Tossing Plastics Workbench.
That's
And,
super cool. That's super cool, dude.
That's how it all started. And yeah, I have a handful of other ones.
Which I'm a fan of a couple of these.
Yeah, I mean, this one was golf ball dimples, which yes,
definitely
there are
my favorite.
some like the Inferno. Some companies have done it, but they use this is scaled to size. So if you took a golf ball and scaled it to size, because I wanted it to have the same effect that dimples do on a golf ball. I think when you keep them as small as a golf ball dimple and throw it on a much bigger surface area, I don't think it's going to have that big of an impact.
Makes it a little kind of slippery as opposed to this is creating some friction, I feel like.
Yeah, and there's downsides.
Makes the plate a little shallow. The plate's a little shallow, but I this is the one that I enjoyed when we were having our putt off the other night with all of these.
Yeah, that one has some substance to it, and then this 8-sided, it was just a curiosity thing, and like a forehand because I thought you could get a good forehand grip.
How's that throw?
These two throw pretty similar. I think this one's actually the most consistent. That one's kind of strange, has a ton of turn, but it fades extremely hard. And this one, to be honest, was a joke, but I needed something. Well, it was kind of all started as a joke, but I needed a putter, and so my thought was anti-rollaway putter. Feels horrendous in the hand. Like it's not. And it rolls.
Yeah.
So nothing about it worked, but it's kind of fits in perfect. And then this was just a super wide speed. It was pushing the boundaries. Nothing too exciting on this. But this one's definitely like the baby. This one, I would love to maybe be able to produce these. And
you should see the minis. He's got minis too that I think they're just cool as could be.
Yeah, I'm excited. The minis will be coming out soon, and hopefully I can get some up here to AnotherRound Lula for people to check out as they come through. But that's how the whole Mad Scientist started. And being on the road, there's not much I can do to continue pursuing it, which is kind of a bummer. And I also just keep a DX Leopard in here. If you know, you know. If you don't, I don't know what to tell you. It's just that simple. So I always have the DX Leopard. And yeah, I would love to see if something can grow of these. I don't know if the chapter's ended with them or if it's just begun, but it's been a fun ride so far. And I'd love to do a little bag swap with a pro so they can give them a rip. And they're 3D printed, so there shouldn't be any contract issues.
So if there any pros happen to see this and would like to do a bag swap with Hunter with his 3D printed disc, doesn't have to be 3D printed. He was saying the other day, I think, right?
Oh, saying it doesn't actually need to be your bag, right? Just
bring some discs.
Listen, I'll bring some discs if I need to. Like
we're just trying to make a fun video.
Yeah, I don't need to throw, just whatever falls out of the car. That's fine too. Or yeah, I mean, I would love to. I'd love to get some people's reactions throwing these discs.
I think that stuff is the fun part of the sport. When he was showing me when he first got here, I was stoked on it, and I think it could be something cool, even if it, I don't know. I would like to see, and so if there's anybody that does get to check this out and has any insight on 3D printing or any ideas and wanna get with us and help Hunter out in any way possible, because like you said, he's traveling, he's on the road. Any type of funds towards any of these ideas are always appreciated. Anything here, like we accept people who come on the barter system, but I know Hunter works on a lot of that as well, especially traveling, which is, where we can pop into next is, you travel. Not a lot of people know what it's like to actually be on the road, actually be in a van, in parking lots, in these different areas. So I think folks would like to hear, I know you talk about it on your channel, but if they haven't seen that, what would you say, just like a general synopsis of what it's like a month on the road? Like what can you expect to see? Are you surprised at some of the stuff you see? Like, like what do you didn't see coming type deal?
I will start off by saying just a couple things. I have been on the road the better part of over a year and a half, other than being home a little. And honestly, when I'm home, I'm usually taking like 4-day trips, to go to other courses in Michigan. So, and I've also never paid to sleep anywhere. That's a big one. I've never
That takes some skill.
Yeah, except Big
That takes
Bend,
some real skill.
which is a goofy course in Michigan. I went there to film it, couldn't that day. It was in the middle of nowhere, and I got a rustic spot. And I got absolutely annihilated by bees, so it was nice to be able to relax. It's tough, and everybody thinks it's amazing. They think it's magical. Oh, you're so lucky, you're so lucky. I am more than happy to give anybody the chance if they want to do it. They don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, it's truly, for the most part, 80%, I would say, is pretty miserable. And then you have 10% that's like enjoyable. And then you have the last 10% is what makes it all worth it. And it's just waking up, how I got here, I woke up in a Walmart, and then by the end of the day, I was sitting outside with Corbin, chit chatting, listening to music, talking disc golf, talking life. And then it's transpired into all this. It's not for everybody, and I think a lot of people need to realize that it's not for everybody. And what you see a lot of times on social media, especially with $100,000 rigs and staying in state parks, like, yes, that is glamorous. It is probably better than an actual house.
But that also costs.
Yeah,
You're paying for all the hookups. It's a lot different financial endeavor than how you're trying to approach it.
Yeah, and I mean, sleeping's terrifying. There's not a lot of, like I said, the upsides are small, but almost each one of them's life changing. So if you're willing to sacrifice a lot of what I would say just getting through life, if you're willing to sacrifice just kind of that baseline and give that up and have more lows, but the highs, they just grow you as a person, and they will be with you the rest of your life. So that's a big bonus. And I would say if anyone wants to do it, there's going to be a natural, when you hit the road, you're going to be super anxious and excited. And then about 3 weeks in, you're going to hit like your first feeling of loneliness. And is when most people quit. And that will bring you as low as you will let it. And it will haunt you all day, every day, is the loneliness. So my advice is that wave will come. It's going to hit you, and do your best to kind of rebound out of it. And then you can really start experiencing van life. But that moment when I hit it for the first time, it sucks you in deep, and it latches on. So you got to be prepared to, fight out of that.
Deal with that. Yeah, I feel like that's something that you learn through experience. It's very hard to have known that, just from talking to people. And so I think that's great advice. I've traveled a good bit, a lot different ways, but in hostels, and I feel like I've experienced that as well, especially when you don't have, you're traveling alone and you don't have your longtime friends or family near. It definitely gets there. So I know that I have had some cool experiences after those lows. So let's hear a cool experience after you've gotten down in the dirt and you were, contemplating possibly giving up or something like that. And then, what was the thing that snapped you out, or like, what was the thing after that happened that was like, you felt blessed to have pushed through?
Yeah, I have many times thought about throwing in the towel. And I would say the biggest one was going to Charlotte, of all things, because everyone talks about
Mecca.
The Mecca of disc golf. And I'm not taking away from that, but Charlotte was the most, as far as my experience, the most anti-van life place I've ever been. I went there last year around Christmas, and
just surprising, honestly.
Yeah, I didn't think it'd be a problem, but pretty much everywhere that allows overnight parking, they had full-time security, and there was no options. And
even like pay to, is there no like pay to park where they didn't mess with you at all? Or
honestly, it was kind of late in the day when I got into Charlotte, and I always I have a list of places that allow it, and I've never struck out that bad. And so I didn't go that far. And by the time I went through my list, it was like close to midnight. And I just had nowhere to go, basically. And I went to Cracker Barrel. I just rolled in there after they were closed. They were actually closed, I think, the whole week for Christmas, and talked to a manager, and they were phenomenal. They said I could stay there the whole week, and that was
I love that, dude.
in a way, just that visit at Cracker Barrel, I would say, was an upswing from the dirt, because I remember sitting in my van driving around, just done. I was like, this is crazy, because I had always dreamed of like going to Charlotte and experiencing all of those courses, and I think it also took away
most disc golfers do.
Yeah, it took away my drive of like the whole bucket list thing. Like that's why I just kind of go. There's a lot of underground courses that are amazing, but that in itself was almost special, because I stayed at that Cracker Barrel. I went to Scrapyard. You know, you see Another Round.
Yeah, we know.
Joseph from Another Round lives there, I've heard, in the parking lot himself. And I
no van. He just hangs out with his
raw
tripod.
dogs at the parking lot, I've heard. And I went there, and it was the first time outside of Michigan I actually ran into one of my subscribers. So it was like this wave of emotion of giving up on the channel to, like, if you meet someone that your channel's impacted, that's like the high of all highs.
Gotta be.
And
right?
so I hung out there in Christmas, and there was nobody else there except people who didn't celebrate Christmas. So it was nice to have a Charlotte course, one of the busiest ones, like Scrapyard, basically to yourself. So that was the coolest, I would say, just genuine, you know. And then you have situations like Lula and Bird Ridge. Shout out to Bird Ridge, where you just show up there, you don't know what to expect, and it turns out to be an absolute blast, and you meet amazing people. But unfortunately, that doesn't happen as much as you might think on the road. But when it does, it's perfect.
And yeah, I've definitely seen it here too with you. People coming in and being like, "Toss some plastic, what's up, dude?" And it's awesome. And we do the same thing, a little less. But when people mention that they follow us and stuff like that, it definitely it feels good. So that's awesome to hear, man. Well, cool. So got into some of the van life stuff, but just to go into a little bit, we've watched a bunch of disc golf while we were here. People probably want to know, like, if you were able to play, let's just go top 3 pros who you would want to have around with, also have a beer with. And so let's get your insight on your top 3. Doesn't have to be in any specific order if you don't want it to be, but just, I know we've chatted about a few, but I think people want to know.
I think not in any specific order, but number 1's Matty-O. I would love to get around with Matty-O.
Yeah.
I think
a lot of folks.
I think we would have an absolute blast. I would definitely choose Matty-O. To be honest, I haven't given much of this a thought. I would say Matty-O. I would like to play around with Kelvin Heimberg, because I think our sense of humor is very similar. Yeah. So it'd be like the calmest, driest crap talking you've ever seen in your life, and I think we'd feed off each other well.
I do too.
And
I think you'd be a good fit for OTB Skins if they ever want to hit you up.
If that ever was a possibility, I would do it. I don't know if it would ever, but if it
Luke
does,
Humphreys, hit him up.
Yeah, I would absolutely love to do that. Number 3, I think off the top of my head, I'm going to go with kind of a dark horse on this one, and I think I would go with Greg Barsby.
Nice.
I would like to play. He's been around a long time, and I think he would just be a fantastic guy to chat with. And Double G's there too. Just, a lot of the people that have just been in the game for a long time, I would really love to play around with.
And that makes sense. Yeah, all those dudes are very style-wise too.
Yeah, and still very relevant enough and at the top of their game that they're going to just absolutely annihilate me.
Yeah.
And like that, I would like to play around with Kelvin Heimberg and just realize the levels to this and just be absolutely humiliated. but I would be toting max confidence the entire way.
Yeah. You have to.
Yeah, get absolutely annihilated.
But I don't think I've seen Hunter play a bunch. You guys have seen him play. Like, I think his game is up there. He could compete for sure. Well, could hang and not feel bad. I think I could play with him, even though I'm definitely not as a consistent player as Hunter is. And I have a little. They would definitely annihilate me, but I think it's rad to see him throw as hard as they can and hit lines that I'll never be able to. My shoulder is like about to fall off right now from all the mermaids we've thrown. But yeah, that's. I mean, I could agree with you. That could float for me too. I'd put a couple different folks in there just from my the people that I followed growing up. But yeah, Calvin, I love watching him skins. Calvin, you're the man on skins. Love seeing you talk trash and throw unreal shots through tiny gap. And so Barsby, yeah, that'd be. I mean, I've had a couple people come in here and talk about Greg and give some stories, and so that's definitely a dude that I feel like having a beer with would be that we could get some good stories from the tour, from a guy like that, no doubt.
Well, what are your top 3 then? I know you're saying Brody Smith's number 1.
You know what, dude? I honestly like Brody. Like, I know a lot of people don't like him. They don't like his hot takes. They don't like his his personality. Like, listen, they don't like a lot of things. I've listened to him on his podcast, but more like the reason I'm more a fan of his because I've just followed him from his trick shot days. I've just known he's been around. I'm gonna take a little break here and get my dog outside.
The puppies are getting feral.
So we just don't want that. Okay, yeah, sorry guys. So
yeah, I have nothing against Brody Smith at all. I'm not a fan of hot takes personally, but no, I've nothing.
A lot of people aren't, which is why,
why it works.
Why it works, and well, obviously it creates conversation. He definitely gets conversation started. I think it's interesting to, just to watch it, especially being, kind of in the sport a little bit, not as much time as a ton of other people, especially doing content and stuff. But I would want to play with him, just pick his brain on content. Interesting how it's gone from ultimate frizz to doing the trick shots to tried ball golf out, and then he switched over and people just lost their mind that he was, playing with Paul Macbeth in like 2 months. And
yeah,
I respect that, but I'd still have a beer with him and play around and get some insight. And then honestly, I've just liked Calvin. I'd go with him on that. A little bit cheesy just to do the same thing, but I've always liked the way he throws. I can't throw a flick to save my life, and he has one of my favorite flick shots on tour, I would say. I heavily enjoy watching him play. And then let's see, honestly, like King Climo, dude. Like, I would love to hang out with King Climo from the stories that I've heard, from the way that he operates. I know it's a little incendiary, and folks, have some opinions, especially with like his fake accounts and stuff that apparently is like the stuff that I've seen. That, I mean, to me, sometimes it's some entertaining stuff on there, but I could see how sponsors and stuff maybe wouldn't dig having that be a part of his online persona. But yeah, I feel like I'd love to play with him. He would definitely still beat me, but I would enjoy hearing his stories. I've heard Paul Ulibarri talk about some of the stories when he was younger and how he played mind games with him. And so, like, I think a guy and like getting inside his brain on like his strategies and stuff, I think would be really cool.
I feel like you could almost have a whole separate 3 for like legends in the game.
Yeah, well,
like mine was definitely focused on like also getting my butt kicked, but yeah, I would love, and Ken Climo would still do that. Like, don't get confused, but no, yeah, Ken Climo would be great. There are some legends of the game I would definitely love to play around with, and he's right up there.
Yeah, that'd be tough. Of course, super cheesy, going Paul Macbeth. Got to. He's the man. I don't know. I haven't heard as much as far as like how he operates and stuff, having beers after his rounds, but I know he's got a family. But still love to chat him up. He's doing a bunch of cool stuff for the community. So the foundation's killing it all over the world, putting in disc golf courses. So that's sweet. So just to do a little segue, since I just said he's putting courses in all over the world, do you have any plans, or have you thought about going down under potentially, or
As far as getting a hold of me and contact, it's really simple. I have a website, tossingplastic.com. I have some used discs, t-shirts. There's an email right there, and you guessed it, tossingplasticdiscgolf@gmail.com. And I reply quickly. I want to just give a lot of love to Michigan, my home state, the Mitten, best disc golf state in the country without question. And no, I mean, final stories, it's hard. They're endless. Just enjoy the game. Don't focus on your score too much. Don't focus on I love UDisc. If you don't need to use it, just keep the phone away. I don't think people need to be pulling their phone out on every tee pad of every hole of every course. I think you just focus on the fun of the game. You'll be surprised how fast you'll improve your game. Too many people get locked in the analytics and this and that. Just love the game first and then work on the analytics and try to improve it.
I think that's a good bit of advice. I see a lot of people caring too much about throwing their score in and messing around on their phone than they do hanging out with their buddies, right?
Yeah, you're taken away from what disc golf is supposed to be. You just want to have fun, be around the people you care about and you love, be around new people, and don't let the phone and your score take away from that.
Yeah, because the camaraderie, I would say, is what probably got me hooked. Other than throwing my first really good shot that, goes and flies flat and he flips up, does the cool stuff. You don't even know what it's doing at that point, but it looked really cool.
You'll never recreate it
ever again. And so the camaraderie has definitely been one of my big things. So I think that's a really good bit of advice. Well, sweet, man. This is obviously, thank you guys for joining us. This is our first podcast house. Thank you guys for joining us here. This is
the first one
podcast here at the Clubhouse in Lula. I personally just want to say thank you. I want to give Jody a shout out. Jody takes care of both the courses. He's the man. His lady has helped out this year. The owners, Kirk and Leah Watkins, we appreciate you guys. And if people don't know, they are the owners of the property. They are the people that allow us here to be able to do all this stuff and to be able to try to grow something that we care so much about and want to foster and get to an actual real, family household name for a destination to go play disc golf, hang out with your friends and family, glamp or camp, get your outdoor fixes needed, ground, do some spiritual burning, do whatever you got to do to just enjoy yourself outside. So we appreciate you guys for being here. Thank you, Hunter. We appreciate you.
Jody is a legend.
For sure. And if you can leave Jody a tip in the box. You can you can send Hunter Venmo, Zelles. I think he has all the stuff. We much appreciate anything you can send to these guys. That does help us out. Disc golf is one of those communities where we need the help right now in these beginning years. The people that are doing the stuff that we're doing and putting the time in, we're not making any money. We're doing it for the love of the game.
A lot of work. It's one of the things that is definitely, people don't understand how long it takes.
For sure. And that's anybody, any traveling pro that you like, send them some money. Us, you don't got to send us anything, but come in here, buy some merch, talk with us, tell us your story. If you want to be on this and you have some stuff that you want to talk about, talk to me, get with us here. We'll make it happen. So appreciate you guys. We'll be talking to you soon. We're out from the Clubhouse.
Yeah, if you want to support the channel, hop on the website, buy a t-shirt.
Boom.
That's the best way.
Yeah,
I would greatly appreciate that.
Yes, we love everything you can help us out and help anybody who's here trying to make this disc golf dream work. Cheers, bro.
Tools I used to change my life came from mom and pops, they raised me right. I used to see yellow and run through the light. Now I got patience, it's gonna be alright. I'm getting to the goal, this cheddar straight off the block. I know a couple soldiers, never been to Iraq. I don't trust these barely voted Barack. Pocket full of birds, I'll pull them out and they